Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another weekly webinar for the week of, what is it now, the 28th of January. It's a little bit delayed due to my travels. I'm back home. Fantastic trip. Week in Jerusalem and 3.5 days in Rome. Wow, a lot of fun. First time in Rome, and really beautiful city. Anyway, let's get down to business. It looks like I didn't really miss too much while I was away, which is always nice. Basically, the week looks like a little box, not much going on, right? We had this little hammer candle over here. We're still inside the weekly supply zone. We're still looking for the sell-off to begin and back test and create either a higher low or new lows. We're not sure yet, but the weakness should be coming. What we're looking at over here now on some of the smaller time frames started to give us a hint of what to expect. Looks like we have a double top right at our supply zone, middle clearly right here, and what we should be seeing is a push down into this level. As far as when that's going to happen, so this week looks like a really dangerous week as we get a little deeper into the week. I don't expect anything to happen much today. Monday will probably be a fairly quiet day as far as actual large moves because there's a Brexit vote on Tuesday. We've got FOMC with a press conference on Wednesday, and then we've got NFP on Friday. So as we get into the later parts of the week, there's a lot of news events that can cause fluctuations. I think we're at the end of the week going to see a fairly decent move. I'm expecting us to at some point, get down into these levels that we've been talking about for a week or so, and then then we'll have to reassess as that happens. But for now, that's the target. Unlikely that it's going to happen today. It's more likely going to happen probably Wednesday. Around the FOMC statement, depending on what comes out of there, and the press conference, depending on what he says. So for that reason, I'm actually going to move Wednesday's webinar this week with the live trading is going to be moved to Thursday instead of Wednesday, because obviously Wednesday before, the FOMC, it's really nonsense trading. So we're going to move to Thursday this week. We'll have a webinar at 8:30. And then live trading at 10 a.m. this coming Thursday. Okay. In the meantime, let's continue what we're seeing here. It looks like we have a double top on the 240 as far as the 60 level as well. There's our little double top. Let's open this up a little bit here. We want to start the recording timer there. Sorry about that. I got to remember to do that. Alright, so there's our double top. You can see that on the 60. It looks like the supply from last week. We ended up closing inside here. We sell off. We hit the demand. Looks like multiple times. The level holds, ends up coming back, creates a lower high, starts selling off. And now we're in this level right over here. Well, it's early in the morning, around 5:30 on Monday morning, so we'll have to see what this level does. But again, expecting this double top to play out properly, we should expect this to break and go back to the origin and down over here someplace into these levels. So I'm still leaning short for now. We'll be trading on smaller time frames probably today and tomorrow until we get some of these news events out of our face. And then we'll see what goes on after that. Okay, let's continue down to the time frames. It looks like on the 60, on the 15, we've already started to sell off a little bit. It looks like we've turned trend over here on the 15 to a downtrend as well. After this move, breaking down, and we're in some. This is the demand that we're coming into. It looks like I actually should put a couple of more demand zones on this chart. There's a demand zone. Let's see, this one here is something to look at. Let's put it on the chart and make it official. Let's grab some demand lines over here. Let's see. Start with the easier ones first. So we'll look at this. That's really about it. Okay. 15 demand, fine. And again, we're going to be playing on smaller time frames for the next day or so until we get, a better picture of what to expect. Let's take a look at the NASI. Also, just spending the week, it's actually week number 3 now, inside the supply zone on the weekly chart. You can also see the beginning of the double top over here on the daily, clearly starting over here. There's our middle, and again, somewhere back down over here is where we're looking for this thing to break down into, back to 64 or so. Let's see what happens as we get closer. So we're leaning short again. We're looking for supply zones on smaller time frames to ride them down into this demand on the daily level. So yeah, there's the target basically right over here. And this is just channeling down. There is a really good supply. There's a little gap, it looks like, from last night over here that's available for us to try to trade a little bit later in the day. We'll see how that plays out. But that's something we probably want to look for. Supply like right here. Ends up, otherwise it looks like it's just a trend line. You can see that. And over here, right? And it's just going to do this collapse. So we should get a pop from this demand over here, that give us a chance to fill this little gap area up here, and then that would be a pretty good short if that happens. Otherwise, not much going on here. Next, crude is the one that looked, I think, pretty much the clearest to me as far as what's going on over here. Same idea. I keep talking about this level over here, and that we're looking for this to pull back and create either a higher low or a new low. The supply looks like it's starting to work really well. You notice that it took us 3 weeks to actually get it going. We have a potential for a failed hammer over here in the weekly chart coming on. We're looking at this over here with this little lower high situation, and now we're already below Friday's lows. You can see this level of supply that was from back over here is now held. It's breaking down, which means we're going to take this level out and look for a back test to 50 right now. So that's the target. We want to be short crude, looking for pullbacks. Looking for rallies, into a supply zone on the smaller time frame to ride it down into 50. So there's a really nice looking zone over here. Nice over here. Looks good. I don't know if we're going to get there today. And as we start to bang into this zone, we'll probably test something that's like over here. We'll see how this plays out, this level. It's not clear enough to draw yet just because of all the banging that's going on here. If it just rallies out of here, we'd have to actually wait for this upper zone over here. So keep your eye on crude shorts. Looking for a potential short right now into a trade down into 50. Okay, looks like it double topped up there. The 60 chart earlier in the week. Here, there's our middle. So the origin again is just down over here into 52, which is easy for now. That's pretty sure we're going to hit that today. Okay, and then it should continue down into 50. Gold. So it took all week to finally do what I talked about in last week's webinar. Or was it Wednesday? I don't remember. I lost track of days while I was away. But that saying that, this was pausing over here and it needed to pull back and pick up some new demand from lower down in order to make the next shot up out of here, which is really what it did. Breaks down, comes back over here, tests the level, and then there's the rocket ship up. It gets to 1300, closes up there, and now we're looking at this to continue over here. We get an engulfing candle on last week, the weekly candle. It happened all on Friday, but it happened. You can see over here that we're tested the breakdown over here on the web. We're testing the see the little web, the trend line over there on the lows after we broke down. We're testing the outside, and what we should see over here is a bull flag building, and then the next pop up, getting us all the way up to like 1325. Again, because of FOMC this week, it's a little sketchy and iffy when this is going to happen together with NFP. So it's going to happen. The question is when. What are we doing about it? At this point, I like the lower time frame demand zones. This is for the longs for now. You can see over here on the 60 that we've sort of taken out the little trend line that we had going on up there with the highs. I'm going to open it up, and you could see that was Friday's move. A nice, really strong move. And closing up here, that's the key on the week. So a pullback into some smaller time frame demand zones on the 15 is a couple that would give us a chance into the longs. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for this morning. Let's take a look where those zones are. Here they are. 15 demand of gold. So a couple of nice looking zones. Looks like what is that? 50, 92 and change. And then there's this thing, which is like level on level. I'm sort of marrying the zones together, so somewhere inside here. And if it gets underneath 87 and change, then, you know, I would wait and see what it wants to do. But for now, at least this level is probably the right trade at this point. This zone is the right one. If it should get through there, then, you know, we'd have to wait for it to show us a bottom someplace inside of here before we take the next one, because it's likely to create supply over here on the way down. If it breaks this zone, then we're going to have a supply zone over here, right? It's going to be drop, base, drop, and then we'll have to deal with this level as far as me and our face for the long. So this level is a little bit tougher. I'd rather see it happen here, drop in the zone, and then we shoot out and take the longs and look for, you know, 13, let's call it, for today on a day trade, 13, 10, 12, something like that. Let's see where the next supply zone is up here on our chart. Oh boy, it ain't, because we haven't been over here. When this thing rolled over, we didn't put any more supply above 1300 and change. So let's go put the next zone, put the target on here. Let's go see where it is. We need more data. Let's do that. Get this done right now, because without knowing where it's going to go, it's not going to help us, right? So we don't want days. Let's do months. Let's go back. 10 months. 10 months. Okay. Fighting a little beginning of a cold over here, you know, a traveler thingy going on, so hopefully it won't get too bad. But in the meantime, let's find the supply zone. Cool. There we go. Okay, so there's where it starts and all. So this is the zone we're currently trading on. Let's see where the origin is. Yeah, clearly. Pretty good zone. And then you see, oh, there is a bunch of crap up here. This is garbage, garbage, garbage. You'd have to say there's something over here, which is still a reaction to something still behind us. But that would be the target for now. Up here someplace. What are we looking at? There you go. 1310 to 1312. How's that for a good guess? Looks like 10 point something or other to 1313. So, cool. All right. That will be the target for today. Okay. So pullbacks and then a nice pop into that zone. So, crude shorts looking good, and gold longs from lower down looking good. So far, so good. Next, dollar. We were looking for Dow to have strength last week. It looks like it did until Friday, and when it gave back everything that it had for the whole week, and a little more. It turned the week red over here. Still not breaking down totally, but it looks like, you know, we understand why. It was rallying off the demand over here on the daily chart, and it pushes up into the supply zone. And then, you know, there's the pullback, and it looks like it's sitting on top of this doji currently, looking like we're waiting for this demand that's down here to kick in. It's inside these wicks over here. It looks like the zone is off a little bit. I couldn't draw it at the time, but now I know where it is. And now we've got all this air up here to some kind of retrace. So we'll see if that starts to develop. I believe it should. But again, until we, you know, with all this central bank stuff going on, and it's going to be rough trading today and tomorrow. So patience, patience. Okay. The euro, you can see, is doing the same thing. It breaks out of a little wedge over here on Thursday. Friday retraces back inside and lands inside the doji, just like the crude. As I can see, it's banging again. So this thing, it's a bull flag, but the trend is down. You know, created on the weekly chart, potentially this higher low, this hammer, but it needs a continuation. If it doesn't get a continuation, you get the failed hammer, and then we end up breaking down, which I believe is what the path for this is. I think we're going to turn over here, and we're going to do this. We'll see. All right, so I'm looking for shorts for the euro, but you know, right now, not here. You know, the trend was down on the 60, and then we had this one move up. I'm just waiting for it to stop and show me where the lower high is. Right? When we did this, we went to a downtrend, and then we just had this bounce up here. Even though we took out the highs, it's all one directional. And what we're looking for over here is this lower high to start forming over here. It looks like it did on the 15, and it's back testing it currently. It's like 5:30 in the morning, something like that. So we'll have to wait and see what this does over here. I don't want to see this high taken out. I want to see this turn over, and then I'll start my shorts. Okay? There's some demand over here, so sort of a day trade somewhere over here as a potential short. If you catch the short, if not, you could actually take this long. Because again, we're looking to sort of wait and see what happens type of thing. So this is a two-directional. You could buy the demand down over here and just ride it back up to like over here someplace 14.4 and change. So decent. Maybe 50, 60 ticks up over here, and then if this starts selling off over here, you could write it down into here. So a little bit of smaller time frame stuff, only because that's what's available currently due to the market conditions. Okay. Aussie dollar. Looks like we got a hammer over here on the weekly chart, and we're looking for the continuation. So the supply creates a pushback. It looks like we just tested the trend line, and we got a hammer. If we don't get the continuation of this hammer, you know what happens. I think we're actually going to see the lower high right here, and that's going to create a failed hammer on the daily. We're doing this. That's what I'm expecting to see over here, we'll wait for that to develop. There were a couple of zones that looked fairly decent when I was setting up for the webinar here. Let's take a look. Okay, so the supply up here was, impossible to determine because of these long wicks up here. But, if you ignore the wicks for a second, you'll see that that's exactly where the level went. Right? This must have been some kind of news. I don't know what it wicked into a higher zone. This zone, whatever the hell that was, I don't know. I was out of town. But it went right into the zone where the candles were. It's got all this air underneath us. We're watching this area over here. It should be breaking down. It's coming into some 60 demand. So any lower high that forms on the 60 over here, it will give you the short, which a lot of air under here. And there's the target for here. So decent trade. That's all we can get out of this now until we start getting some of those news events out of our way. And pound, we have a Tuesday, 2 p.m. Tuesday, 2 p.m. is a Brexit vote. So be very careful with the pound. Expect, volatility stuff again. And here we go, breaking out of our range. This is where the real supply is sitting. So maybe this time we get up there. We talked about this at the last Brexit vote, but that's really going to be a wall when it gets up here. We're getting the 200 average into the zone. I mean, it's fantastic supply. If this just does rally-based rally, goes right into here with news event, I would be shorting that. But in the meantime, we're watching this. It has broken up. And we're in supply on the higher time frames. Again, channeling, you can see the trend line. It's developing over here. Right? And right now it's up. The trend is up on the 240. Okay? So you want a short term, before any news events coming out, you want to take longs. I mean, yeah, you can do that. Just make sure you're not in the trade anytime near the event. And this is now potentially going to create a lower high. We'll have to watch. Before we get long, I would worry about this supply. You can see this, it's already created one lower high, right? And they're going to come back into this thing. If this thing starts turning over, I'd prefer the short, actually. Because even though there's a trend line up here that we were watching, there's actually another one underneath us. Looks like right over here, right? It's like channeling inside this thing. So, we start selling off over here, so you have a decent trade down to 13.3150, which is basically this demand zone. Right here on the 15 chart, this thing. So, short at 31323 up here, and then you write it down to this 3150 area. It's a decent trade. Canadian also has an event this week. I think it's Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. There's some central bank info coming up. I have to check my calendar, but definitely check yours. Tuesday or Wednesday, I forgot. I think it's Tuesday. Last week we were talking about Canadian needing to sell off out of the supply zone and create some, some pullbacks and potentially even a lower high again because of this one directional move on the weekly chart back to the supply zone. It looks like we ended up getting an engulfing candle, so showing some strength over here. It looks like Canadian on Friday had a really nice move. Again, that's the dollar that had a pretty sell-off. So it's looking at both like it's about to break out to the upside. There is room for it to do that. Maybe it wants to test up here. Just not sure yet which direction this wants to go. So the trend on the lower time frames, I think, is up. We'll look at it now. The higher time frame is not really just yet up, right? This little downtrend needs to get through here before we start calling this an uptrend, and it hasn't done that yet. So the downtrend on the higher time frame is still there. So let's take a look here. 60 was up. Canadian. Yeah, not really. Looks like rally base, rally base, rally base, rally. So the shorts are still available here. And so is the demand. I mean, lower down, you can buy the longs. Again, this is a multi-directional trade over here, similar to what the euro is looking like. We can trade longs, lower down, somewhere over here. We're going to take the long. If we end up creating a lower high over here, there is room for the short. So, just again, small time frame stuff because that's all that's available now until we get all these news events out of our face. The yen, I haven't traded in all week, more than a week actually, I was away, but I haven't had a trade in a while, waiting for this thing to figure out what the hell it wants to do. Alright, so going back a couple of weeks, we saw what happened, and we get this, now we get this doji here, and we're sitting with this 50 average right at the breakout area. What does it want to do? I don't know. It's hanging out over here. Well, this is potentially something. It's like 10 minutes, we're going to see a failed hammer over here. Okay. Yeah, well, some demand underneath us again. This one I don't like at all. There's really not a room. The demand is right here. The supply will be right here. This area is supply zone will be break down. So there's not enough room over here to be making any trades. So let's stay away from the yen for now. That gas is just wild. I don't know how anyone could hold this over the weekend with 200 plus point gaps coming left and right like they're nothing. So it's taken out the weekly island bottom, which is really bearish. I mean, we had a beautiful rally up, but you know what? This week, and then now we're gapping down. I know it's part of it is rollover, but still very, very strong rejection of these highs now with this. Look at this monthly candle. We have a couple of days left, and we're going to get a wicked dragonfly, which means I think we're going to break it down under here at this point. So, yeah, it's sort of telling us to start the shorts here, back up into the supply. If we start selling off out of the gap, it might be an interesting short here that we'd be able to ride down potentially all the way down into like 2.25 or something like that. So a big move down still here, looking like that's what it wants to do. There's some gaps and stuff that are got going on. And looking for supply up here someplace. We had a rollover event, so this is partially rollover. But we have to find the spot, and I don't know where it is just yet. I just know the gaps are there, and I'll have to wait and see. If I see something, I'll let you know, but I know I want to be short that gas. Okay. No low risk entry yet hasn't presented itself. And copper still playing with everybody's head. It's still range bound. That's all it is. The demand down here. Now again, back over here on the supply zone. Watch this. If it makes a lower high on the 60, we can get a short. That looks okay. Depending on what this is, we have to see what this thing is here. Let's go take a look at 2.7. Oh boy. Copper 2.7. We have something over there? No, we don't actually. This is a fairly nice looking short here. Channeling down, we hit some demand, one move up, we hit the supply right there. There's the supply over here on the 15, the drop base drop, which we're pushing on right now. And the lower high over here, short with a stop up over here, would look at, the pushback all the way down to 2.7. That's a very big trade. That's a nice looking trade. It's actually developing right now. So if anyone is up, I'm going to send this in a few minutes. Look for this, or, later in the day, if you see some kind of lower highs forming over here, there's still room under here to get us all the way back down to this demand zone. That would be a nice day trade. So on the swing trade is really behaving beautifully so far. We like it a lot. Second week now, we've got a green candle coming on, and we're about to bust out of the top of this. We got back-to-back hammers. We're making higher lows. We're about to break out of this sucker. Take a look here, right? Nice little flag going on. We get through this thing. We've already got the lower highs. You can see all the moves that they've tried to stop out the longs with these wicks under here, immediately getting rejected and shooting back up and closing up here. It looks great. I think the breakout's imminent at this point, and longs are definitely the play for soy. Okay. See where the level is, if it's offering anything for a long opportunity. Nada. Okay, actually, I take it back. There is a very nice demand zone on the 15 chart down there. There you go. Beautiful little breakout area. Some demand over here. We're just pausing. If we get a shot into this thing early in the morning, looks like a good long. It looks like it's a 50 average, which has really been the holding price. Okay, so there's a nice looking chance to join longs for soy. Target 10. Okay, and the bonds, the shorts are still working. Last week we had a little bit of a rally up there, but it was immediately erased on Friday with the twins. And you could see it here, and now we're watching this over here. In 5 minutes, we're getting another lower down. This is going to break down again. Okay, so again, it's a smaller time frame trade at this point, you know, because of the by Friday. I'm sorry, by the FOMC, which is Wednesday. So one more day potentially for it to grind down a little bit more. Sure. Okay. Let's take a look here. There we go. There's the lower high, the 60. It's right there already. It's about to make the lower low. You can see it. There's the lower highs. It already did this part. But this is, and now we should fall into the air, and we should be breaking out under here, and that will be the end of the trade. Okay, that's it for today, folks. Again, a reminder that we're going to be doing the webinar this week and the live trading session on Thursday. Okay, if anyone has any questions, you know how to reach me. Email, Skype. All the best. Speak to you later. Ciao.